Okay, so let's go at it here now. It's been a few minutes since my last video, that's all. I just went to have a little chat with my wife, and while I was doing that, I'd left the radio on here, and I could hear it, static crashes coming out of it, even though I was in another part of the house. So I came back, it was all quiet. Probably one of these capacitors is giving up the ghost. Hard to say. So let's start changing them. I think we'll start with these guys over here. Yeah. Okay, so Mr. Year number 1. There's like a lot of heat in that resistor right there. I can feel the heat coming up. No, it's just coming out of the socket. The tube socket itself has got hot. It's not the resistor. Okay, so a capacitor I just took out is a 0.01. Okay, so we're going to put in a 0.01. I should do a close-up for this. Let's do that. There we are. Very good. Solder, here it is. Yes, so while I was up chatting with my wife, I mentioned the nuclear safety sirens had gone off. And they very seldom test these things, as you can appreciate what happens. I didn't know that it was scheduled for today. She did. She'd seen the notice for it. But you can bet all kinds of people got just a little bit panicky, especially people who are scared. I'm not one of them. Population in my city is about 100,000, but this is just a city surrounded by cities. Small city, 100,000 is a small city. There's easily 1 million people living right around here, within the, oh look at that, within range of the power plant, so to speak. And all told, in this area, what's sometimes called the Greater Toronto Area, quite a few cities involved. I think it's well, I could be wrong, but I think it's around 6 million people altogether live kind of along the end of Lake Ontario. If you take a look at Google Maps, find Lake Ontario and find Toronto, and just look around the area. I'm in Pickering. You'll see Oshawa, Whitby, Ajax, Markham, Mississauga. Goes on and on and on. The cities one after another bumping into each other. There's a lot of people around here. And the city of Toronto itself has, it's 2.5 million, I think. There's only 32 million in Canada. 16 million when I was born. Now there's twice as many. Maybe even less when I was born. And there's lots of people around. That's one of the reasons I have lots of radios to fix. Let's redo the other end on that too. I wasn't terribly happy with it. That's a little better. Okay, that's one done. Now, let's do, let's do this one next. It's just leaping out at me, so let's go get it. It's a another .01. By the way, my resistor and capacitor order came in because I was running out, as you know from watching earlier videos. I'm not going to run out now. I bought almost 1,000 resistors and capacitors, so that should keep me going for a while. And I also expanded the values. I have more capacitors of different values now. I should be able to match everything I come across. I don't have to parallel capacitors and do things like that. This is a little easier than the German radio I finished a little while ago, the Greyets. There's just not as many components in here, and there's more space. And things aren't layered as much. Hang on. Okay. So I guess when I heard the radio make the crackling noises earlier while I was talking to my wife, I kind of split suddenly. Didn't really explain myself, and then I never went back upstairs. I just got back into the work here, and she had no idea what had happened. So she, where'd you go? What happened? Okay, so that's another one done. Yeah, that's good. Now we'll go after that guy. As I've explained before, I leave the leads sticking out at .02 this time. .02. Okay, here's a .02. Put this over here. So I give this radio a 50-50 chance that after I do this, bingo, it'll come to life. I will have removed a truly troublesome capacitor. 50-50. The other possibility is it won't make any difference at all. Oop. I think sometimes on camera you get a better view of what I'm doing than I have. See, the camera is 6 inches from the work and my eyes are 2 feet away from the work. So I think sometimes some things may look kind of obvious in the camera. They're not so obvious in my eyes. So although these ones are real easy to do compared to that second last radio. Okay, this guy can be next. This one is a what? Point. It's damaged right through the value, right where the value is written. So we'll compare it. Could be .01, could be .02. I can't tell the difference here from size. And cripe, it could be even something else. Here to there, eh? Well, let's do a .01. I don't hear anybody arguing with me, so I'll go ahead. That's a great thing about working alone here. I'm free to make my own mistakes. Even with you watching. Yeah, I caught myself making a mistake in the big Grayet's radio when I fully installed a capacitor, and one side of it I installed to the wrong spot. So and as I think I said in that video, if you make a mistake like that, that's It's not necessary. Well, you know, you got to follow this basic principle that if you make a change to something and then afterwards you get unexpected results, or then you should look carefully at the change you made, because there's a chance you made a mistake making the change, whatever it might be. That's the principle. You can't assume that, oh, I didn't find the problem, and carry on looking elsewhere when in fact you've become the problem. Oop. So I'm trying these different capacitors here too, these green ones. They get on there. Because I know at some point I'm going to face a radio with 50 capacitors that need to be changed. I did a communications receiver some time ago, and it had easily 50 molded capacitors in it. And they are known to be trouble in that radio. Oh, look at that. Finally gave up. Okay, so lots has happened since the end of the last video. I've had the last video ended rather suddenly when my computer hung up again. So, you know, I'm not too sure what to do here. I took out the video card, which was supposed to power up the video and make it better than the onboard video itself. I took that card out, and I'm running with the onboard video now. It shouldn't, you know, if I had trouble before, I should have more now, but maybe not. We'll see. So if this video comes to a sudden end, you'll you'll know the results of the experiment. Now, getting back to some capacitors here. Yeah, we're down to having only 3 paper capacitors left, so let's get rid of them. My computer is dislodged from its normal spot. I have a chance to... I'm looking in the camera and seeing 4, and I'm looking with my eyes and seeing 3 capacitors. It's because I can barely see this one. Because for me, this one is straight up and down, and I can hardly see it. Isn't that interesting? Fun with cameras. So, never mind all that excitement, let's get on to this one here. Okay. It's not the healthiest looking capacitor, is it? Look at the end of it there. And it's a 0.01. 0.01. Now, I did get some new capacitors. .01. Okay, where'd that capacitor come from again? From here. Here to the ground here. Okay, you know I was talking about that high voltage dust effect. There's a real good example of it here. Let's take a look at it. Okay. Now you see the two blue wires running side by side. Okay, right in here. Just waiting for the camera to focus there. There we go. You see those two blue wires? Look at one of them has that dust all over it, and the other one doesn't. So which one do you think is the high voltage wire? I think it's kind of obvious, isn't it? So you can see that effect on component leads in lots of old radios, if you look closely at it. Now, are we looking at the right spot here? From there to there. Okay. Get that wire out of the way while I do the soldering. Well, so far so good on my computer. I thought if it was going to act up, it would act up pretty quick. I got Windows 7 on this computer, and there's a feature called performance something or other. It gives you a performance rating on your computer, which is an index based on quite a few factors. And it's just an index. Doesn't mean anything in itself. But mine was scoring fairly low on exactly the category that I need to make this camera work right. So I took out the video card, as I mentioned, and I checked it again using that performance monitor, and it came out even lower. So I expect if I'm going to have trouble, it's going to show up right away. You know what it could have been too? It could have been that the video card was drawing too much power off the power supply, and the power supply output voltage was dropping, or something of that sort could have been happening too. Maybe the voltage supply right on the video card itself. Don't know, I downloaded a monitoring program for temperatures and some voltages too, as it turns out. And the whole time I checked with that little utility program, my computer appeared to be just fine on all accounts, so I don't know. I wonder if 40 years from now somebody will be sitting in a shop, God knows what a shop might look like 40 years from now, looking at some computer from the year 2000, hoping you can make it work again. But you know what? I doubt you ever would, because the peripherals would all be just as old, and you need everything, and the internet won't work the same by then, that's for sure. It'll be internet number 50 or something. I mean, the opposite way to make my point, a clearer way to make my point, is working on an old radio like this still makes sense today, because you can still turn these on, and guess what? People are broadcasting, and basically the radio still provides the same functionality it always did, which is a lot different than many other technologies that the network around them disappears. They can't be supported anymore. Like, would you like to have a teletype machine? There's not much teletype signal out there anymore. You know, who wants a teletype machine either? I mean, actually, I had one once, and I let it go at a yard sale. Great big honking thing, still working. I kind of wish I'd kept it. What should we do about this one? There's a big one. Let's leave it for now, and we'll go after this one down here. Okay. So this one's involved in the IF. It's also a bypass. Or I'm sorry. Whoops! I knocked you over there. Please remain seated during the show. Okay. We're working on this one. Good. What was I talking about? I don't even know what I was talking about now. Well, I always say if it's something good, you know, it'll come to you again. But I've learned that it's not true. If you forget a good idea, it's good and gone. Okay, 0.02. 0.02. That's another stock that I got. Which I actually get fairly locally. Interesting enough, there's an international distributor of parts for radios, and he's 10-12 kilometers from here. It's not far away at all. And I'm not here to plug anybody, but the only thing he sells are is stuff for just radios. Yeah. So I'll say that. And I got the stuff quick, and the price is good. Coming from my neighbor, basically. Now, focusing back in on what I'm doing. Let's put a little tubing on this guy. Well, my computer seems to be holding in. That means I'm gonna make more videos, yeah. Whoops, put that a little backwards. Here we go. I mean, I understand that these quality checking the program, like Windows Performance Tester. I'm not really sure what it's called. It's just a built-in part of Windows. They can only do so much. They can only provide a value based on all kinds of, I don't want to say assumptions, all kinds of almost arbitrary. I'm sure they try not to be arbitrary. So what I'm trying to explain, what I'm babbling about right now, is how come the performance index is lower if the performance seems better. How do you explain that? Because maybe I haven't run my computer long enough yet to find out the problems. Because the problems were not performance, they were power supply issues. That might be the real problem with my computer. It might have been a power supply issue. Really, that might explain everything. The computer's open and it's right beside me here. Let's take a peek. Looking for the power rating on here. Oh, 500 watt. Oh, it's a 500 watt power supply. Okay, so not likely a power supply issue in the sense that the power supply is insufficient. That's pretty potent. So it remains one of those unknowns. What happened there? Oh, I didn't solder that. Of course you knew that, didn't you? I wonder if you as a viewer are able to concentrate more on the work than I am. Toothless power pliers. But these pliers and me, we've been through a lot together. I guess I put up with his shortcomings. There we go. Two more. I'm just looking at the lighting that you're seeing versus what I'm seeing. Maybe I'm just going blind. Another .02. So I think I heard that many animals can see with starlight. Obviously that doesn't apply around here or any urban area, because you never ever get it lit with just starlight. It's lit with all kinds of ground light all night long. But over in a remote area, there are animals, like I think the big cats, you can see by starlight. It's really impressive when you think about it. So I'm kind of shielding your view with my hand, but sometimes it just can't be helped. Yeah,